Welcome friends to another r/I don't work here lady video. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Our first story of the day is by Yavana12. What is that guy's problem? I witnessed the situation firsthand yesterday. I was in the grocery store when I saw a young guy with headphones on coming up the aisle towards me with an older lady on a scooter following him. There was a guy following her who appeared to be her husband. The lady was yelling, "Sir, sir," with increasing volume until the guy in front took off his headphones and turned to look at her confused. I honestly thought she was going to tell him he dropped something with how persistent she was in following him, but no. First words out of her mouth were, "Why are you so rude? I'm trying to get your attention and you're ignoring me. I need help. You work here, don't you? So stop being rude." Guy looked at me and put his headphones back on and kept walking. Smart move. Lady starts following him again, but sees me watching and says to me, "What's this guy's problem?" I replied, "Well, you're the one being rude. He's just trying to shop. Stop following him." "I'm not being rude. Doesn't he work here? Do you work here?" "No, I don't, and he doesn't either. Look for someone with a name badge and a black shirt." She started to back up to go to a different aisle after that, but kept repeating that she's not rude and she just needs help. Normally I like helping out in stores, but she wasn't getting help from me after that. As I walked away, I could hear her in the next aisle yelling, "Do you work here?" to someone else. Who do you guys think you should feel bad for more? The people this lady keeps talking to and harassing, or the husband for just kind of coasting along and basically babysitting them? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Butts the Robot. The time I got fired. So many years ago, I heard through a friend that a new supermarket was opening in the area, and they were hiring people on to put the store together to get ready to open. I was in between jobs at the time and a bit of a cash influx while I searched for something I wanted, but this wouldn't be a bad thing, so I applied. And that was it. Didn't hear back, shrugged, and moved on with my life. Until 3 weeks later, my phone rang. Didn't recognize the number, but when I have applications out, I answer every call and it goes something like this. I say hello. Manager says, "Hello, is this OP?" I say, "You got him. What can I do for you?" The manager says, "Well, this is manager from business, and I'm calling to let you know, since you no-called no-showed to the first day, we're letting you go." I say, "Well, that's understandable, but I don't work for you, sir." He says, "I'm sorry, what?" I say, "I did send in an application several weeks ago, but this is the first conversation I'm having with anyone from business." There's a short pause. The manager says, "Well, I'm sorry about that. Would you be interested in the job still?" I say, "I appreciate the interest, sir, but I'm going to have to decline." It was just goodbyes after that. So that's the time I got fired from a place that didn't hire me. Must have been a darn good application that they bypassed every other formality and just brought you right on the team. So good they didn't even expect to have to call you, you'd just show right up. I wonder if they got a number wrong or an email wrong or something, but it definitely feels like there has to be a number of hoops to fall through before it gets to that point. This next story is by Pajama Soup. Incompetent Boss forgot I quit and calls to ask why I didn't show up to my shift. I've worked a lot of bad jobs in my life, but I left home at 19 and needed a job to pay rent while I was at uni. I worked for a massive supermarket chain, and for those of you that live down under, it was the red one. Anyway, these stores are horribly managed, usually understaffed, and they don't give a crap about their workers. The job. It wasn't glamorous. I cleaned apartments after they closed. Think moldy fridges and chicken ovens that had been running all day, as well as collecting shopping trolleys no matter the weather. Now, this company has absolutely zero regard for the safety of their workers. Over my 4 years, I had broken my coccyx, received chemical burns, and thrown my back out no less than 3 times. As I said, poorly managed and understaffed. As a result of the horrible working conditions, they had trouble finding long-term employees, and I ended up training someone for whichever store a couple of times a month. Eventually, I decided to move on, as I'd saved a bit of money and took some advice from friends and let the fear be my motivation. So I gave my 2 weeks notice over the phone, text, and email just to be 100% sure they got the memo. Spoiler, they didn't. The manager. Let's call him John. John was the epitome of incompetent. He would come to train me on a new way to clean chicken ovens and then complain he was getting grease on his new $500 shoes. He once came in as support during a particularly busy period, but wouldn't help because, despite being at my estimate in his mid to late 30s, he still lived with his mother, who did all his washing, and she didn't like it when he came home dirty, etc. There are plenty of examples of John's stupidity, but I digress. Finally, after 4 years of working my butt off and requesting a transfer to a different department due to my multiple at-work injuries, I just quit. As previously mentioned, I gave plenty of notice and went above and beyond to ensure he knew. Anyway, as my last 2 weeks pass, everyone in the store knows I'm leaving, and I'm expecting to train my replacement any day. But no one shows up. Now I work alone, and there was only one other guy doing my job on the nights I wasn't at work, but he got lots of complaints and, by all accounts, wasn't very good. So I've worked my last day and said my goodbyes, and am already employed with another company where I still work and love my job. Sunday rolls around, and I normally have a 9-hour shift I work alone, but not today because I'd left that toxic heck hole in the rear view. Then John calls. "Hi OP, I was just wondering why you didn't show up to your shift today." I say, "Sorry John, I don't work for you anymore." John says, "What? I thought your end date was someday a few weeks away." I say, "Nope. As per our phone call, my text, and my email, my last day was a few days ago." John says, "Oh, well, I say, "Yep, sorry, bye." Click. Most satisfying moment of my life. Several months later, I got a call from another store asking if I could work a shift there. I definitely agree that these places sound horribly managed. That little snippet on the end is perfect. Just imagine you're off living your life months after this all went down, and you get a phone call and they're like, "Hey, could you come in for a shift over at this store? I haven't worked for you guys for months." Our next story is by Ridiculous Nonsense. It was my own fault, but the lady was super nice. When I was 17, I got my first job at a niche bakery/coffee shop in my suburb. I was a cashier, server, busser, dishwasher, barista, pastry case stalker, whatever was needed. One day, our milk delivery didn't show up. My manager was calling and freaking out, but they weren't able to get to us until the next day, and we were running super low. So as jack of all trades, it was my job to run down the far end of the plaza we were in to big regional grocery chain and get milk. So I'm in the dairy aisle just piling gallons into a shopping cart like a kid in a math problem, and an elderly lady walks up to me and asks me to help her find some things, and I stood up and was about to be mad when I realized it was my own fault. Big regional grocery chains' employee uniforms are a white button-down, black pants, and a green apron. My coffee shop's uniform was a white button-down, black pants, and a black apron. I even had my name tag on because I was on the clock. I ended up trying to help her as best as I could for a minute and explained I didn't work there and actually worked for a coffee shop at the far end of the plaza. She laughed and wished me luck, and I bought the milk and ran back down with my shopping cart, and everything was fine. Towards the end of my shift, the lady actually came in and got a drink and said hi and left a nice tip. I explained it to my manager, who got a good laugh out of it. Sometimes these situations can turn out okay. With these kinds of stories in this subreddit, you really expect somebody to just blow up and get angry and, "I demand your manager," and this and that. Hearing them show up a second time in this story and it actually be a good thing is actually really a nice change for once. This next story is by Tapioca Czar. "You don't work here, lady. I work as a floral vendor at a bulk store, and at around 12:30 p.m. today, I was headed into the dairy cooler to pull my flowers out and restock my display. It's a giant walk-in cooler with tons of space, so we store our backstock in there. I open the door to the cooler and see a woman rifling through my flowers. Now, I don't usually see the afternoon or night staff, so I walk over and the following conversation ensues. I say, hi, do you work here?" She says, "What?" It's loud in the cooler, so I try again. "Do you work here?" She says, "No, but..." I say, "Then you need to leave, you can't be in here." She says, "But I need..." I say, "Ma'am, I can help you find what you need, but you have to exit the cooler." She says, "I need I say, "I can get you flowers, but you need to leave the cooler. It's a safety violation for non-employees to be in the cooler." She finally walks out, and I'm resisting the urge to roll my eyes at her back in case she turns around. I cut her off every time she tried to ask me for things while still standing in the cooler, and was astounded that it took her so long to leave. One of these days, we'll get an employees only sign for that thing. One of these days. You know, I was really expecting this to turn into some district manager visiting or something like that. I'm so accustomed to having some like punchline right at the end. It was honestly kind of surprising to not see that happen. And our final story of the day is by Mr. Too Old to Care, My Bad to the Bone Wife. My wife and I are senior citizens. In other words, we're old. My dear wife is a strong, independent, take no crap from anyone type of woman. I adore her for it. She keeps me in line, pushes me to be a better man, and is the reason behind my modest success in life. She's sarcastic, is wicked smart, can cuss like a sailor, and as she gets older, her filter is practically non-existent. A few months ago, we decided to treat ourselves. We made reservations and went to a rather high-end restaurant. Sommelier, highly trained waitstaff, etc. My wife, even though she's in her 70s, has very little gray hair and can pass for 55. She was wearing a very pretty white lacy blouse, very flattering black pants, and black flats. She looked good. When we arrived, there was no line surprisingly, and the maitre d' had apparently stepped away from the podium where he stands. We were waiting there, and my wife was right next to the podium, and I had sat down at one of the benches provided by the entrance. When another couple came in, without missing a beat, the man walked up to the podium and told my wife, "Rockefeller," not the name he used, "we have reservations for 2. My wife said that she was sure someone would be with them shortly. The woman huffed a little and the man said, "Please seat us now." My wife told him that she's waiting to be seated, but the man said again, "Seat us now." So my wife said, "Right away, walk this way." She walked away with them behind her as she walked around the partition, separating the entrance to the dining area, circled around to the other end, and led them back to the entrance and, pointing to the bench, said, "Sit down." The man looked like he was going to blow a gasket, and my wife repeated, "I don't work here, you moron. You wanted me to seat you, so sit the freak down." As the couple were sputtering, and before it could escalate further, the maitre d' arrived. We gave our name and he led us away. There was no yelling and no threats of police. We had a wonderful meal, overpriced but oh well, and the other couple was several tables away from us. We didn't interact with them again, but they did shoot us sturdy looks now and then. Now, before you say my wife overreacted and could have explained that she didn't work there in a better way, she has a wicked sense of humor and hates idiots. She loves being a smart butt and is so good at it. One of the reasons that I, after being with her all these years, still love being put in my place by her when I start getting a little too misogynistic. I wanted to post this again because since the original posting, I've lost the love of my life to the current global health crisis. Maybe someday I'll be able to post new content about the wonderful woman I was honored to call my wife. I definitely think that this is an awesome story and an awesome remembrance of somebody that was such an awesome person. Somebody not afraid to speak their mind and put people in their place when they deserve it. Somebody that, although they might be sarcastic, might be a little dry sometimes, is such an endearing and inspiring person and pushes you to be better. I think we can all wish to have somebody as awesome as OP did. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.